Welcome to another episode of the Meal Prep Monday podcast. I'm your host and founder of Prep Dish, Allison Schaaf. In today's episode, we are kicking off a two-part series on Always Be Learning. Today specifically, we are going to dive into 8 topics that I have either learned about in the past or currently am learning about, and we'll just get more into it in the episode. Before I do that, I do have an email to read from Prep Dish subscriber Aaron. Aaron writes, "Hi Allison, it was fun seeing you via the workshop. I've been a Prep Dish member since our second son was born and have enjoyed watching your family grow. We have 3 boys as well, and I feel like we just have a lot in common. I love Prep Dish because of the healthy, real food meals, and I love having someone else decide what's for dinner. That has been a huge stress reliever. This year, I'm going to try to add more protein, especially at breakfast. Thanks for the tips and charts from the workshop. Happy New Year and blessings to you and your family." Aaron, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being a subscriber since 2017. That's amazing. And if you're listening to this and thinking, well, I want someone else to decide what's for my dinner, go to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday. We have 14 days free. Try it out. See if it works for you. See how it feels having someone else deciding what's for dinner, as Aaron puts it. Okay, so for today, this Always Be Learning, I was looking at where I wanted to go next in terms of topics. And I have a few places where I'm personally kind of diving more into learning, but I really thought it might be fun to take a step back and just talk about, I guess, learning in general. My husband and I, that's something we've always connected on is, 1, we're both really big readers, but 2, we both value education and always learning, always increasing our knowledge and being interested and learning more. And I thought it would be fun to talk about 2 pieces. 1, different topics that I have done this kind of intentional deep dive research into. That's what we're going to talk about today. And then next week, I'm going to talk about the different ways and avenues to learn this information. So I'll get more into that next week. So for today, it's 8 different topics. So these are topics that either in the past I've done a deep dive into, or maybe some of them are current ones that I'm going into right now. And the idea is for, perhaps you to take a step back and think through, okay, where am I intentionally expanding my knowledge? There's one that I'll talk about specifically where I've even created a curriculum for myself so that I could make sure that I was, not just, oh, let's read this book, it looks interesting, but taking a step back and being like, okay, what are the top books? Which ones do I want to read? And what's my goal here? And why is this important to me? So as you go through, you see a lot of these topics are, they are really important. And I think it's good to be intentional where you can be. Okay, so topics that I have done deep dive learnings into. Number 1, parenting. So this one I'm going to put in the ongoing category. When my kids were first born, I was learning a lot about babies and, reading different baby books. But, as they're getting older, there's all sorts of research and learning to do on discipline styles or being outside, screen time, attachment. Education is one where I'm kind of going more into as my kids get a little bit older. But this is one that, I've found it's really important to understand more and, understand when I'm making my decisions, maybe having better information to make those decisions from. Number 2 is cooking. I would also classify this as ongoing, but obviously I did go to culinary school for college. So that was one in the past where I really took a deep dive into learning how to cook. But, I'm always then, I guess sometimes it's like I do a deep dive and then it's more in maintenance mode where I'm just like, okay, I'm still learning, but it's not the same as the deep dive. So this one, I guess maybe maintenance mode. And, the book that I did the overview on in the last few episodes on salt, fat, acid, heat. That could be a really cool, I guess, like self-directed curriculum of learning the basics of cooking. And then, I'm just always looking for whether it's new ingredients or techniques, different things that I can introduce to the Prep Dish audience to either keep flavors interesting or ways to increase efficiencies. Like what are the tools out there that can help speed things up? Number 3 is business. So I've had my own business for 16 plus years. And, this has always been ongoing, but there's been certain years where I've been intentional on what I'm going to learn about that year. So for example, maybe it's like, oh, I'm going to really do a deep dive on SEO. I'm going to find some trainings. I'm going to read some books. I'm going to do this, hands-on activity, whatever it is, maybe a new platform. I've done, years where I've really gone deep into management, business finance, just a lot of different areas that I've gone into over the years on business. Number 4 is AI. This is something I've been learning a lot about over the past kind of 6 to 9 months, both with books and personal things and business things. And I might get more into it in future episodes. I found it interesting for a few different reasons. And I might have more to share on that later. Number 5 topic, this is more of a past one, but when I started going through fertility issues, that was definitely a topic that I did a deep dive research into. I wanted to make sure that I understood the research and what it said. I knew what the different lab work options were. I knew the terminology. If I got a diagnosis, I wanted to learn about that. Yes, I would go to my doctors and have them, give recommendations and give support, but I also wanted to come in as an educated patient and be able to ask questions and also be my own advocate. So that was one that was really important to me to become more well-versed in that world. And then kind of building off that one, now it's, yes, and that kind of involved hormones. And now it's this number 6 is a deep dive into hormones and perimenopause or what to expect for menopause and all of those things. So just now realizing with fertility, part of me wishes some of that I would have become more educated on before I ran into the issues. Of course, I did not think I would run into fertility issues, but I do think some of that would have been nice to know more about, or know more about my cycle and hormone levels and all of these things before I got into trying to conceive. So with hormones, I think it's really important to learn about this and know what to expect as I age. And so the past few years, that's something where I've really made it a point to take a step back and be like, okay, what are the top books that I can look at? Are there any courses? Last year, I really wanted to learn a lot about protein as it relates to hormones and perimenopause specifically. So I really did a deep dive on that. And you probably saw some of that reflected through Prep Dish. And yes, it's something I wanted to provide as a resource for Prep Dish subscribers, but it was also just something, personally that I was interested in and just had this nice crossover. So that's topic number 6. Topic number 7 is financial literacy. This was something from a few years ago where I decided that I wanted to be better with money management, with investing, with, angel investing, all these different areas. And I created a curriculum for myself. I did this 12-month curriculum. I had a list of books and different, goals and things I wanted to try out and people to talk to. And just, I came up with this idea of, okay, I really want to be able to be well-versed in financial literacy. Now that's kind of, again, it's not like, okay, I did that, checked it off. Now it's like, okay, this is an area where I'm constantly wanting to learn more. And there's, new things that come up, but I did have a year that I really intentionally dedicated to learning more about in that area. And then number 8, this is a topic that I'm currently taking a deep dive into, and that is travel and points. So if you've listened to this podcast, you probably know that Brooke and I have always been avid travelers. And even with the kids, we've traveled, quite extensively with them, but it's something we want to do a lot more of in the future. And I've realized, I think I always wrote off the credit card points as like, oh, a young person that was super flexible and, put all this time and effort into it. And I don't know, I just never really went down that path too much of credit card points, and definitely not the credit card churning or anything like that. And I found a course that I've really been enjoying. I started with the book and now the course and the coaching. And so this is something I'm doing a deeper dive on this year. And my goal is that then, in the future, when we do travel more extensively as a family, I will be more well-versed in, how to look for better deals, how to effectively use points. And it's not always just about, churning credit cards or anything, but there are formulas of like, this is, the best platform to be on. This is how you transfer them. So this is a really cool one. I know it's far off the topic of meal prep and meal planning, but because I'm really into it, at some point this year, I may do an episode or two of what I've learned there. It's, I don't know, I've been really excited about that. So that's been a fun one for this year. So yeah, those are 8 topic ideas of deep dives I've done on, learning about different topics. So, I'm hopeful that this episode will maybe help spark something for you, whether it's one of these 8 topics or something else, and just figuring out a way to, be more intentional with that and decide this is something that I really want to take a step back and figure out how I can learn more about it in, X amount of time. I like to have goals and, do that sort of thing. So next week I will go a little deeper into like how to make that happen, like different ways that I have. So yes, there's books, but there's a lot of different ways to, learn more on a certain topic. So I will get into that next week. Before I sign off, just a quick reminder, if you have not tried out the Prep Dish meal plans and you're looking for help with planning your meals, having someone else decide what's for dinner, as Erin put it at the beginning of the episode, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday. We have 14 days free set up for you. So that's the best way to try it out. Just try it out for 14 days and see what you think. If you are a longtime listener of this podcast and have not left a rating or review, I really appreciate it. It just helps more people find the podcast. If you know someone that might be interested in this specific episode or the podcast as a whole, maybe just, do a screenshot or shoot them a quick text. Those referrals mean a lot. Again, it just helps people to find us and the work that we're doing. Okay, that is all I have for next week. I will be back again next Monday with another episode.